This show is sponsored in part by Flat Fee Tax Prep and Services, offering quality tax preparation serving clients nationwide. For more information, visit www.flatfeecreditandtax.com. And don't forget to mention Stunner Radio sent you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Brooks, the host of The Kathy Brooks Show. Come discover 3 pillars: spirit, soul, and body. Kathy Brooks Show starts now.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to The Kathy Brooks Show. This show, we promote a prosperous spirit, soul, and body. So I'm so happy to see you tonight, and I'm so glad you can join me. Tonight, I am bringing back a series that I featured in my first season. It's called the Life Makeover Series. I hope you remember it. It's about renewing, redoing, reinventing. People had the courage to make big changes in their lives. They moved into a new chapter with faith and courage. So this is where I talk to men and women who have made these changes in their lives. And I'm happy tonight to have a guest to join me. And before I introduce my guest, I just like to welcome everyone. And I'd like for you all to know that the program is, I'm excited to be here. And I'd like for you all to have comments and join in on the conversation. And you're welcome to do that. And I'll be looking forward to hearing what you have to say. All right. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time chitter chatter. I'm going to talk to you tonight, and I want my guest to join me. So we're going to go ahead and introduce my guest for tonight. My guest tonight is Ms. Heidy De La Cruz. She is a passionate writer who has an encouraging blog about life experiences. She shares messages that God gives her. She is a published author. Her first book, Words from the Heart. Heidy is also the host of the podcast, The American Dream in the Eyes of an Immigrant. She talks to immigrants about the journey to the U.S. Help me welcome to the Kathy Brooks Show, Heidy De La Cruz. Hello, Heidy. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, I wanted to get right into it because I want to give you enough time to be able to tell your story. Yeah. And I gave you a brief introduction, but if you could just tell the audience, the listeners, the viewers, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into your story.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I am an author, poet, podcast host. I am a wife, a mom, a believer, all of the things. So it's just really exciting to just put everything together and share my story of what I've overcome to try to provide and give that hope and encouragement to other people, and try to connect also.
All right. That's great. So that's a lot of things: a wife, a poet, a podcast host. You're a very busy lady.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
So let's kind of start. Let's start with, I know you have a podcast about immigrants. Mm-hmm. So tell us, are you also an immigrant? Were you born in the U.S.?
I am a child of immigrants. So I was born in the United States. My parents, however, were born in the Dominican Republic, and they migrated to the United States.
Okay. So let's talk about your journey on how you got here. And I know you have the first book that you published is called Words from the Heart. Yes. I'm interested to know about that book, but kind of lead us up to that. Lead us to how that came about.
How that came about, yes. So I started writing poetry when I was young. I've always been a writer. I remember telling my husband a few weeks back, I was like, I used to write stories. I used to write songs, even though I'm not a singer. I used to write just everything, stories, poems, everything that I can think of, I used to write. But poetry specifically, it was in 7th grade. And I would keep it to myself. I wouldn't really share with anybody. I had a specific notebook just for my poetry. But I did share it actually with one friend. I got the courage and I was like, hey, I want you to read my poetry to give me some feedback. And once she read it, she told me that they were really good, that I should share them, but I still wasn't ready.
Right.
I stopped writing poetry for a few years, and then I started writing again after I was going through a lot of traumatic events in my early 20s. So the
Mm-hmm.
poetry really helped me overcome, like really helped me express what I was going through, the feelings, emotions. It also really helped me just get through what I was going through. But it was also a creative outlet,
Okay.
so a lot of the poems that are in the book were written while I was going through, I guess, the trial period, right? Because I have 4 chapters. The first one is the trial. The second one is I can't remember the second one. Oh my gosh, is the trial, the healing, yes, healing, rainbow, mother, and then rainbow, right?
Okay.
So these poems were actually written through the trials and then the healing and all that. So it's pretty much my journey of going through a toxic relationship, dealing with infidelity, dealing with the death of my mother, um,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with just all of that, right? And then
Okay.
then once I decided to go to therapy to try to get through everything, heal. I wrote also continued writing to help with my healing journey. And
Mm-hmm.
then the rainbow is just like, there's always a rainbow at the end of each storm. So really, I wrote the rainbow once I met my now husband, because just being in a healthy relationship after being such a toxic one, it was like a fresh of breath air, right?
Okay.
So that's what the poetry is about. It like takes you through the journey of everything that I had went through. The chapter specifically for mother, I like to clarify that it's not about motherhood. It's just about the situations that I went through with my mother, because she had bipolar disorder, and
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know until a year and a half before she passed, when she finally got diagnosed. And
Okay.
so those poems are, they're raw, they're deep. My mother and I didn't have that loving mother-daughter relationship because of her mental health issues, but we didn't know that that was what was going on. So once she got diagnosed, everything kind of clicked and made sense. It's like,
Okay.
okay, this is why we had such a rocky relationship. This is why she did what she did. She also was dealing with being addicted to alcohol, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just seeing her drink every day and just being in that unsafe environment is something that really struck me. And I didn't really even realize that until I was going through the therapy, trying to uncover everything, right? So that's what the poetry book is about. The when I decided to actually publish these, it was way after, like it was like years after, right? I was like, I want to share a little bit. I do share some of my poems in my blog, but I was like, I want to put all the poems together and put them in a book to show the world that we go through challenges, but we're here for each other. We can connect with
Right.
each other and
Right.
things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So 4 chapters in the book:
Yes,
healing, rainbow, mother. I missed one. What was the first one I missed?
it's the trials.
Okay, the trials. So
Trials.
uh, trials. Okay, so these happen over a period of multiple years, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, trials. Okay, so I'm assuming that you just collected. The writing was part of your therapy.
Yes, yes, it
The,
was. Hmm.
getting the poems out was part of your therapy.
Yeah.
So did you have help as to when you decided to break this book down into these particular titles? When you had your poems, you had to figure out, which one is for each of the areas.
Yes.
So how
Mm-hmm.
did you come to that? What was inside of you to say this is about healing, this is about this and the other thing?
It was because of when I wrote them, like what stage I was in my life when I wrote them. So like when I read a poem that I wrote, I vividly remember like what I was going through, how I was feeling at the time. So that's why when I decided to put the poetry book, okay, so I had the poems were scattered. Some of them were in my cell phone notes, some of them were in a journal, so I had to like gather all of them together. It was like, okay, this one I wrote when I was going through this. Okay, this one I wrote when I was going through that. So that's how I was able to put them under each chapter.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much. I don't have the book to go through to share a few of the poems. I didn't get a chance to pull any of that, but talk to us about, like, if you want to go into a little more detail about, like, what was the trauma? Was that about the relationship, what you had to deal with in the relationship?
Yes, it was. It was a relationship, again, what I had mentioned, a lot of infidelity, right? So when you are in a relationship that you get cheated on, you start to blame yourself. What did I do wrong? Was I not attentive enough? Was I not fulfilling his needs enough? Was I not pretty enough? So you really internalize that. So I've written about that.
Okay.
But after getting help and realizing that it wasn't about me, it was everything to do with him. Like him needed to feed his ego,
Right.
So once I realized that, I was, able to write about it, right? Because again, like you trying to make it about yourself, but it's not. Like, you did the best you could in that relationship. And I had to learn the hard lesson that it doesn't matter what you do. If the person is going to cheat, they're going to find a way to cheat, and I
That's
also,
so good.
yeah, I had to learn that the hard way, but it was a really good lesson to learn because, I was constantly looking on his phone. I was constantly looking at his messages and things like that. But it's like, I don't need to be doing that in a healthy relationship, right? I don't need to be feeling this insecure. I should be in a relationship where I feel secure, like I don't have to second guess his actions. Of course, it took all the heartbreak and everything to get through that, but I was able to get through that. So that's why
Well, we have this Facebook user that says, yes, so many women struggle with that, blaming themselves.
and
I mean, we need to scream that from the mountaintop. The lesson learned in that needs to be screamed from the mountaintop, because I myself had to learn that lesson the hard way. There's nothing you can do. This infidelity is a selfish act. It's not even about the person.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, beat that horse, but we can look in the media right now with a lot of beautiful women and all kinds of women, celebrity women, all kinds of women.
Yes.
No matter how beautiful you are, doesn't matter about your physical appearance. A man, if that person that you're with decides that they want to cheat, there's really nothing that you can do.
No.
I mean, there's no action you could take. You just got to realize it's not about you. It's about
and a lot of women try to prevent it, right? Like, making sure I know where he's at all times. But it's
right.
like you really can't prevent it. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it regardless, whether you know about it, whether you're not, it's gonna happen. But again, that's on them. That's a selfish act on them. But it's hard when you're in that situation to not self-blame. Like, what, and I did it for years. I'm telling you, like, I blamed myself. Like, what did I do wrong in my relationship for him to have to step out of it, right? But after the therapy, it really helped me see it wasn't me. Like, I did everything I could to keep my family together, but I had to step away and really choose myself, right? That was another hard thing. It was like, okay, I had a daughter with this man, and I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be another broken family. So I was like, okay, do I stay with him? Do I not? But I had to choose myself, because I had to think of my daughters. Like, do I want her to see her mother unhappy? Do I want her to see her mother in an unhealthy relationship? Like, or am I going to break the cycle? Right. So that's what really, like, helped me step away. Because even after he cheated,
let me acknowledge Lisa here. Lisa says, exactly. If a person is going to cheat, there's nothing you can do to prevent it. It's their choice.
Yeah.
Heidy, I want to commend you for that, because those are lessons that are very, very, very valuable as women. I mean, I had to go through the same and learn some lessons like that myself. But it's either self or soul. Am I going to lose myself, or I'm
Yes.
going to lose my soul? So I decided to keep myself. I'm not going to just release it. But it was after battling myself and
Yes.
you battling yourself. And
Yes.
I'm saying this to let you know you're not alone. You're not alone in that process the way you thought it through. You are not alone in that discovery process. It's women going through that right now.
Right
But
now. Mm-hmm.
they may not feel like they have the support they have. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important. I'm glad you wrote that book. I'm glad you put that in there. But it's so important that we support each other as just
Yes.
as women, just as women,
Yeah.
just as the fact that all the things that we have to deal with as a woman, that
Yeah.
should be one reason that we stand together.
Amen.
Despite any other things going on in our lives, what level, it don't matter what social economic level you're at.
Yes.
All women have to deal with these
Yeah.
types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to.
No, and you brought up a good point about I actually lost myself in that relationship. So after I stepped away, I had to do the work of who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Because for 6 years, I was this person's significant other, doing everything that I could to make this person happy so
Yes.
he wouldn't do it again. Right. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, it was multiple times because I decided to stay because I wasn't brave enough to choose myself and step out until I finally
Yes.
had enough. But I lost myself and I had to read this. And I wrote about it. There's poems in there about like just you get so caught up in this relationship you don't even realize it's toxic until you're out and you reflect back and it's like what did I put myself through? But then after
Mm-hmm.
you get out you realize I'm not going to accept that anymore. I know better. So
There you go.
now within a healthy relationship I know what a toxic one is, so I know what I'm going to accept and not accept anymore. Like you
Well,
just stronger.
I'm so glad, and I'm so glad. It's a couple of words that you said. I mean, you step out, but you did the work. You
Yeah.
did the work. It's too many people step out of one relationship, go right into another
Oh,
relationship, go
yeah.
right into another relationship, and they don't understand why I keep having these issues. What's going? They never stop to do the work. And another, you have to do the work, become healthy in your soul,
Yeah.
mind, spirit. All of those things takes work. And another thing you said, I wrote down and I put a big circle around it, is happy. And one thing I had to learn, and just piggybacking on what you said, it's not your responsibility to make someone else happy.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
contribute to each other's happiness, but it's not your sole responsibility. That's a full-time job. Trying
Mhm.
to keep somebody else happy. It's
Yeah.
enough trying to keep yourself happy.
That's how I lost myself because I was trying to make this other person happy, but it's you can't do that. You can't. They have
No.
to be happy within themselves. And yes, it was a hard lesson, but I'm glad I learned it because yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad we touched on that. And the other one, the chapter about healing,
Yeah.
uh, touch on that. Is that when you went through the therapy, or does it touch on like the different lessons in the trauma?
So it goes back and forth because I am a firm believer that we are always healing, right? So I'm still healing from certain things. I
Mhm.
feel to me it's a lifelong journey. So the chapter healing goes back and forth. It goes into like, okay, I am worthy, I am loved, I deserve all this. But then it also
Mhm.
goes back to like, man, I'm still hurt, I'm still grieving, I'm still unsure of myself,
Yeah, yeah.
going a little bit back and forth. So that's how that chapter goes. So it's a little bit of a little bit of a light of the tunnel, but then it kind of like pulls you back into the darkness too, because I did do a lot of back and forth in my healing journey when I was going to therapy. So again, like the writing process really helped me a lot. My therapist, I had, what was it? It was a nightmare that I had. I think like last year or the year before,
Mhm.
about the infidelity, right? And I'm like, so I was talking to my therapist. I'm like, okay, I am moved on. I am married. I am not thinking about my past. Why
Right.
am I still having nightmares? And
Okay.
she explained to me, your body stores trauma. and you're always going to have triggers. So she was like, she was told me to write down, like, anything that I might have thought that would have triggered me, because your body stores trauma. So anything, like something will come up to bring you back to that place. So I was like, wow, that is really interesting, because I'm not thinking about that anymore, but yet I had a nightmare, and it like brought me right back to that place where I was like insecure and angry and everything. So that was really, really interesting that my therapist told me.
Wow. Well, that is interesting. That is interesting. But when you were talking about the healing going back and forth, that is that's kind of how life is. When you're coming out of something, you think you found, you think you're brave, you think you're secure, and then there may be a trigger that draws you back into your shell, and then you back into that thinking again. And I think that that's why I think it's so important that we have to guard our heart. We have to guard what we hear, what we see, who we are around. We have to put up a wall in a sense, not to where we can't communicate with people, but we have to guard things we watch on TV, things we listen to, certain people that we're around. We can't be around the type of people that are into, oh, it's not that big a deal. My man do this, and, I'm okay with him doing this, and watching shows that promote infidelity or whatever your trauma is, whatever. If you was an alcoholic, you don't go back into the bars. You don't go back, even though you may not drink, there may be one day where you just, you're in there, but you put yourself in that environment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you find yourself right back where you dug a hole to get yourself out of. So I think that is so important as we continue. And the thing that's important, just like the word says, that we are continuously renewing our mind.
Yes.
We have to continuously renew our mind. And when we are coming out of situations, we have to continuously watch ourselves, watch what we do, watch what we say, watch who we're around.
Yeah.
And those triggers, I'm glad you mentioned the triggers, because I hadn't thought of it in the sense of a trigger, that something could cause those trauma to come back up in your life again.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because there was a situation with me and my husband, and the situation put me right back into that insecure moment for a quick second. His intentions wasn't bad, but the situation was kind of similar. And so I had to explain to him. So like I reacted the way I would have reacted back then, which is not what my husband deserved, because he's not he's not that person, right?
Yes.
So I had to explain to him. It was like, okay, but I felt the exact emotions that I felt back then. And that was a trigger. It was a trigger. So I reacted the way that I would have reacted before. So, we have to have like this long conversation. He told me his point of view, and I explained to him mine, and we were able to overcome it. But it was just like, those triggers that just puts you right back to what you try to overcome. And you just got to learn how to handle those triggers when they come, which is what therapy helps you with. They help you to give the tools that you need to not overreact when those triggers come, and to react and deal with them in a healthy way.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. So I'm curious about, I'm still stuck on the book. I'm into the book.
Okay.
I'm into the book. All right. We covered chapter 1 and 2.
Yeah, yes.
How to fit in the rainbow, because in my mind, that's the lessons learned, how you get to the other side.
How did I get about it? God helped me get to the other side, honestly. Now that I've written the book, and now that I've gotten feedback, I can now see why I went through what I went through and why God gave me the courage to speak about what I went through, just to help other women. I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
help other people.
Okay.
So yeah, so the rainbow is, you know, the overcoming, the being in a healthy relationship, finding my now husband,
Mm-hmm.
just providing that encouragement and hope that just because you went through this toxic relationship or this toxic situation doesn't mean that that's where you'll stay, right? You can move forward, you can move on, and there is someone out there for everybody to love, right? And you know, they always say that relationships go through their ups and downs, but infidelity is not part of that up and down in a healthy relationship. It's just not. It's about you and your partner overcoming life circumstances together. It's you
Mm-hmm.
and that person against the world, right? Because we know life is hard. Life is going to throw challenges at us. We don't need
Exactly.
to add the infidelity in the mix of it. We don't need to do that, you know?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
I know they
Right.
always say, like, if you're unhappy, walk away and things like that. And yeah, I mean, talk to your partner if you're feeling some type of way, you know, like that should be the first person you go to your partner.
Right.
Um, and if you're scared to go to your partner, why are you scared to go to your partner?
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
little things like that. But no, the rainbow chapter is just that. There's a lot of love poems on there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
talking about my husband. He's just my number one support, you know, and because of him, I was able to do everything that I'm doing. You know, he stayed with my child, our kid, our son, and with my daughter while I was in the writing process, trying to get everything together. You know, he helped me with the publishing process. Like, there were certain things that I couldn't get and I was getting frustrated, and he was like, okay, take a step away, let me try it, you know. So he was helping me get this book out, and
Well,
just
that
everything that
that
I'm doing.
that
Yeah,
is awesome. That is awesome. I think I wanted to touch on that because I wanted women. A couple of things that I wanted them to know is that you are not your circumstance. You're not what you've gone through.
yeah,
Okay, you can't let that be your identifying moment of the
hmm,
things that you've gone through. And I also wanted to ask you. I know when my trauma, it took me a while to speak to people in a public manner about it. I was processing it for a long time.
yeah,
I would say maybe 3 years when I could talk about it and be confident in who I was and
yeah,
not go back and forth in that healing circle, you
yeah.
know? So how long did it take you to be able to, have a conversation let me say it like this, because you wrote the book to be able to help people, now you'll be able to serve them.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to a point where you were free to serve them without talking about something and getting triggered again?
Yeah. Well, my husband and I have been together 5 years, and so it's been over 5 years.
Okay.
Over, over 5 years that it's took me to be able to actually say publicly and what I went through. Of course, I told my husband, you know, everything, even
Okay.
things that only God knew. So I've been very open with him of, you know, my past, my trauma, and everything. So yeah, over 5 years, this took me to process everything and just be able to share my story and provide hope to other people.
Okay. So one thing you did mention is that you're now moved on and you're open and honest with your now husband. And I do believe in the institution of marriage, and I believe that if you have two people that are willing, able, and they have knowledge, they have understanding, and they know how to apply that to their partner,
Yeah.
back and forth. They know each other. Love is important, but knowledge of the person and
Yeah.
how to apply that knowledge toward that person needs what they need. I think that when you have a unity like that, there's nothing that you can't conquer. There's nothing that you can't do together. You are unstoppable.
Yes.
You
And
are
that's
unstoppable.
exactly how I feel with him. That is, you hit it right there, because I do have my waves where I get depressed. Like I suffer from depression and anxiety. And when I told my therapist everything I went through, she's like, I'm actually surprised you only have depression and anxiety. So now that, I've been open with my husband and just he knows everything, he also can tell some signs of like, okay, you're not feeling yourself, like what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So like when I do, like you said, like you're open with your partner and they know you have that knowledge, now he can help me, when I am going through my moods or when I'm getting into a funk and things like that. And so just having that knowledge, like you said, it just makes you unstoppable. Like I really feel like him and I can conquer the world. Like anything that comes our way, we got this.
Awesome. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. I wanted to switch just a little bit. We talked a lot about the book and it's awesome. I think people should go out and take a look. I am challenging myself. I'm always challenging myself. I'm an avid reader, and I had kind of cut back on my reading. I started doing a lot of other things. So I'm challenging myself. I think I'm gonna get the book too, because I'm increasing my books and my reading to I'm trying to do 3 a month.
Okay.
3 books a month. So we're going to put this on our list. And if there's anyone out there, any groups of ladies, and I think it'd be a great tool for them, a good starting point, somewhere where they can start to see someone else who's gone through this, how you were able to overcome. It's nothing pretty about any of this. It's nothing pretty about it. But life serves you different things. It's just a matter of, it's not what happens to you, is how you handle what has happened to you and what you do with it. You either become bitter, internalize everything, and stay stuck in that same situation. Stay stuck on that treadmill. And that doesn't serve you at all. That doesn't help you at all. Yeah. But my question to you before we move on is, how did you get out of it? What was it, a big change of events that allowed you to get out? Or was it just a decision that you decided, okay, enough is enough?
It was like you mentioned, like you can stay stuck and bitter. I was there for a while. I was so bitter. I was like, love is fake. All those relationships I see online, they're all cheating. I was so bitter, and I was like, forget love. That's not real. And it was just bad. But then, but I'm a believer. I believe in God, and God is love, right? So once I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being bitter. I'm tired of being mad. I was just like disgusted with myself. I was like, this isn't me. This is not who I am. I believe in marriage. I believe in love. I believe in that two people can truly come together and, be in union. So I decided to actually get closer to God, to draw closer to build a relationship with him at that time. And so I kind of changed everything that I was doing. Like I wasn't ever like a heavy drinker, like a social drinker, but I decided to cut alcohol completely out, right? Okay. I decided to change the type of music that I was listening to because believe it or not, it affects you a lot. There's this genre in Spanish, the Dominican, which we call bachata. And a lot of those songs are very depressing. Very depressing. So it's like, if you're feeling down and you're listening to that, you're going to feel even more depressed. Like, you know what? I'm done with all this. So I decided to change to Christian music, to gospel, to music that would uplift me. I changed what I was watching on TV. Like you said, we have to be careful with what we consume. So I was very intentional with my life in making a change. I also got more involved in my church. I started to go to what we call growth group, which is small groups that they meet once a week. And I was able to lean on the other women, learn more Bible verses that will help encourage me. I started reading the word more, praying more. And that that's what really changed me. That's what really got me out of the bitterness. And I started praying for my future husband. There was a prayer that I found online on Pinterest that it was for my future husband. And I would pray that every day. I wasn't looking for anybody. I was not looking for anybody, but I was like, you know what? I do believe in love. Eventually it will happen. So that's what I did. I started praying for my future husband. I would pray the prayer every day. And, when I was not even expecting it, that's when my husband came into my life. And, he also helped me to continue to do the therapy and continue to get the help. So that's really what really changed. It was like me. It was like, I've had enough. I'm done being bitter. I'm done being mad. I'm done, being how I am. I just needed a change. I didn't like how I was feeling anymore.
Okay, that's good. That's real good. So you ended up leaving out of the relationship though.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This was, when I finally decided to leave, and I was bitter for, I want to say almost a year. Like it was
But you were still in the relationship though.
No. When I decided to leave, I was just done, but I was still just very bitter of everything that happened. Still very mad. At just we were together for 6 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like how did I spend? I would say waste. I was like, wow, why did I waste so much time with this person? But when I had found about the infidelity, because again, it was multiple times, I had went back and forth for a few months actually. Like, should I stay, keep my family together, or should I go?
Right.
Once I decided to, I'm done, this is it, I was in that bitter state for like a year or so, I want to say. So that's why I was like, okay, no, like we got to do something. We got to change, because I can't live my life like this.
Okay. That's good. What comes to my mind when you were talking about that is sometimes the circumstance doesn't change, but you change. And that's so important, because the cycle didn't change for you. Because if you would have still been in a relationship going back and forth, it probably would have the cycle would have still continued. Yeah, but because you took the time to change who you were, the way you thought, the things you did, your perspective, and allow God to become first place in your life, and he started opening up your eyes and your understanding, the circumstance, that situation didn't change, but you changed. And because you changed, you were able to change your circumstance. And that is power.
Thank you. Yeah, that
is power.
Yeah.
That is so good. And I think, we as women, like I said, we need to uphold each other, tell our testimonies, because similar to you, one of the things I did, mine's a little different, but the similarity is that I decided, I was praying, I was like, Lord, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I heard, focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
Not worried about what's going on, not looking in the phone, doing this and doing that and checking this and policing. I was the police,
Yeah.
I got the badge and everything.
Exactly. Yep. Been there, done
all of that. Start focusing on you. Focus on your health. Focus on your start doing more devotion. Start getting in the word. Start having a routine. Start, all of these things I started focusing on me. And then the little lights start to flicker just a little bit. And the more I did it, the more the light started to flicker. So I think that is very, very important what you said. It's not, and I just want to reiterate, don't start to look inside, because the answer is on the inside. It's not out there. There's lots of books and lots of things, but that's information that's going to come in. But truly the answer is going to lie within you.
Yeah.
But you got to get quiet. You got to get somewhere. You got to start doing some things, start doing some work, and pull that up. Pull that under you. So, and it helps to have therapy, to have people around you, to have the right kind of focus and all of that. But that's the key. That's the secret, I guess, the secret sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I like that, praying for your future husband.
Yeah.
Now, this is me talking. You pray for your future husband, but you're not supposed to be looking for him. Like,
no, I was not, because I was.
No, you said you weren't looking for him, but I just
not at all. But I was praying for him. Like whenever God wants to send him to me, this is what I want. I found
right, and that's good. That's good. Because we need to Also, no pain or no circumstances we go through is wasted. It's not wasted, because you wouldn't have been able to pray for your husband because you wouldn't have known what you wanted, because you've been in an unhealthy relationship for a long time. And because you begin to start to get focused, and then because you went through all of this, you know what you don't want.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't want this, X, check that up, take that off the list and all of that. Now you can hone in on what it is you want, and you can start to pray for that. And a lot of people, if you ask them, what do you want? They have a long list of, you got to make this much, you gotta do this, all of that, and which is fine. It's nothing. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But if you're looking for character, substance, and things of that nature, because you come out of trauma, or everybody has a different type of trauma, different types of things that they've gone through. When you take the time to really examine what you've gone through and who you are and what's your new place now, you know what you want.
Yeah,
you know what you want. So, hey, I put that check. Pray for your future husband.
Yes.
All right, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, so we broke down the book. We have one more chapter. I don't know how much you want to get into that one. That's about your mother and the events that happened with your mother, which is kind of totally different than,
I know it's kind of yeah. Well, I mean, it's still part of my trauma, just because of certain situations that she put me in that were unhealthy, which my therapist helped me pinpoint where my anxiety came from, and it was because of my mom. It was because of the unhealthy situations that she had put me in as a child. She explained to me, your parents, mother, father, are supposed to provide a safe and comforting, loving home. But because of my mom's mental health illness, she wasn't able to do that. So with her, I was very insecure. I felt very unsafe. And that's where my anxiety stemmed from, right? So that chapter I wrote, just, because of my mother, I will always love her. I have forgiven her. I mean, and then now I'm able to more understand what actually she was dealing with not even knowing that she had this mental health illness, and why she was having her highs, her lows, her outbursts, her being addicted to alcohol, her depression, but it also helped me be like, okay, this is not the type of mom I want to be. It helped me see, like, okay, I don't want to do that with my child. I want to be better, kind of thing. So there are a few poems of how, like, I want to, say positive affirmations to my daughter, how I want to be better. But it was mostly a lot just dealing the things with my mom. I feel like daddy issues are talked about a lot, but not mommy wounds. And I have mommy wounds, and so I'm very vocal about it. Very, like, this is what I went through with my mom, but and it also has to do a lot with mental health, which I'm a big advocate for therapy and things like that. But her having bipolar disorder, now when I meet somebody who has it, like, my heart is with them, because it's like I saw it firsthand with my mom. Like, I can understand them better, and just know that it's not easy to get diagnosed with it, because I've met a few people who took them years to actually accept that they had the diagnosis, right? They wouldn't accept it, right? They would be like, no, I'm fine, I don't need treatment. And it took them years to actually was like, okay, like, I accept, like, I can't continue living my life like this. So my heart is definitely with those who are diagnosed with bipolar disorder, just, because I saw it firsthand with my mom.
Yeah, I know. In the Lisa says that's so true. People don't talk about toxic moms.
Yep.
That's definitely true. Yeah, but I know that in the Black and Brown community, mental health and these types of issues are not something that's been in the forefront.
Yeah.
We have people in our families that have had mental issues that we've kind of pushed to the side.
Oh, yeah.
And no diagnosis or anything, and the people having to deal with that go through different types of trauma. Now, I haven't personally had that happen to me, but I think it's important to talk about, because We never know what a person is dealing with. And I appreciate the fact that you said that you've had to forgive. You've had to forgive all of the wounds that you had in order for you to move forward. And I'll share a story of my own personal. I remember having come out of, dealing with a lot of the things that I had to deal with. I was praying. I was like, Lord, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and I just want this, this, and this. And I just heard plainly, you have to forgive. Dreams will never come true. And the word says that if you have anything against anybody, a lot of the scriptures, a lot of people like to quote. They forget that last little part where it says, even in the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Forgive those who trespass against you."
Yeah.
They forget that part. I had to learn forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you.
Yes.
It frees you. It allows you to be able to move forward. And you can't begin a new chapter if when you were writing your book, if you never finished the chapter, it would have been a book that was one chapter long.
Yeah. Yes.
So you have to close it. And by closing it is forgiveness. Forgiveness closes the chapter. It frees you up. You may not ever hear "I'm sorry" from the other person. You may not ever hear all the things that you would be nice to hear. I'm so sorry I did this to you. It was wrong. All those things you may never hear. But you have to reconcile yourself to say, forgiveness comes from the heart. And then it's not sometimes something you can do on your own.
Yeah.
A lot of prayer. It takes a lot of work. You have to identify where you are, where your place is, and a lot of prayer and a lot of meditation. And you get to the point where you forgive a person and you are so free. That means you can go back and see that person and look at them like, hey, what's up?
Yep.
Not like, not like one of those.
Yeah. And I had to forgive my mother without getting the I'm sorry, I could have sat here and blame her for everything. I could have sat here and be like, well, you did this, this, and that, and because you did this and that, I'm like this, but like you said, like mental health is not talked a lot in our communities. And to everybody else, my mom was crazy, because she did a lot of crazy things, right? She did a lot of things to my dad. She did a lot of things to her boyfriend who she was with at the time. And I would just my grandma would tell me stories of things that she would do when she was younger, because she always had the bipolar disorder, right? And she would just tell me stories of things that my mom had done when she was younger. And it's like, since back then it was never thought of, oh, let me take her to see what's wrong. It's just something that she lived with her whole life. And I didn't have to do that forgive her without receiving that apology, because she would down talk to me. She would tell me I was a bad daughter. She would tell me I wasn't worth anything. She told me like a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't dare tell your daughter, and she did it. But it's like, she was dealing with these things that she didn't even know.
Wow.
And once she got diagnosed, it was like, everything makes sense. Like, okay, now it makes sense. Because my therapist told me, when I was telling her the stories of my mom, my therapist was like, I'm thinking like, she sounds bipolar. And I was like, oh yeah, she got diagnosed. Okay, well, just so you know, people with bipolar disorder, if they're not being treated, they have a really hard time having any type of relationship with anybody, whether it's friendship, whether it's parents, whether is romantic relationships. Like, they have a hard time keeping those relationships. And I was like, okay, my mother never really had friends. My mother and her grandma and her mom didn't really have a good relationship. She didn't really have a good relationship with me either. So it was like, it just clicked. It all made sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to acknowledge Bridget. Bridget had a comment. She said that forgiveness helps you to move forward. And that's exactly right. Thank you, Bridget, for your comment. I appreciate you watching and tuning in. So, this has been, we have jam-packed this episode. So much. It's been good. It's been really good. And I'm so glad you were able to come on and be a part of the Life Makeover series, because I think it's so important. You and I, we're both here to serve. We're both here to serve. Not, we don't know who our audience may be at this particular time. There's so many people who need to hear a word or two of encouragement. And you touched on so many topics. Mental health, relationships, finding your future husband, needs to do to get out of a relationship. I mean, you touched on so many points that are good, and knowing you're a part of something unhealthy, knowing, acknowledging that and doing the work. I keep repeating doing the work, because that is so important. It's so important. It's not healthy to come out of one relationship that's unhealthy and just go into another one, because it's going to repeat. It's going to find a way to raise its head back up again, and you're not going to be able to identify what it is, and you're going to continue to blame yourself, and it's not you. And it's not just the infidelity. It could be any of the abusive behaviors. I did a show on domestic violence, and my guest, she really talked about what abuse is. It may not be physically touching you. It's, did your man say something bad about you? Did he call you out your name? Cheating is abusive.
Yes.
These are things that we need to learn as women how to identify. And sometimes when you're used to it, just like my guest said, when you're used to that kind of behavior, you don't know how to identify. It's just something you're used to.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much. And before we begin to wrap up, it's getting close to time. Tell everyone how they can reach you and how to reach out to you.
Yeah, I hang out on Instagram. I am at, and it's my name, Heidy, Heidy, period, De La Cruz, so DELACRUZ 13.
Yeah, we put it on the screen for everyone to be able to see it.
Yes.
So that's Heidy De La Cruz 13. Make sure you put the 13, because I think there was another one without a 13. So
yeah, I had to add a 13 because Heidy De La Cruz was already taken.
All right, we'll reach you. We'll reach you when we need you. But again, thank you so much for your time. And we'll go ahead and begin to wrap this episode up. Is there anything else that you like to, any thoughts, anything you'd like to leave our viewers and listeners tonight?
I just want everyone to know that you are worthy, you are loved, God loves you, I love you, and you are worthy. You are just worthy.
Great words. Great words. Gives me a little bit of a chill. We are worthy. And sometimes I know I couldn't even speak those words out of my mouth at one point in my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't say that I was worthy because I really didn't feel like I was. But I know now I am. I was born worthy. We all were born worthy.
Yes.
So it's not about earning it, trying to keep it, try to hold on to it. It's something you was born with. Just walk in it, live it.
Yeah.
God made it easy for us. All right. So Bridget says, it is always about loving yourself. You are worthy.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And loving yourself can be a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey because it's a learning and unlearning behaviors.
Yes.
So, sometimes we might not grow up in the right circumstances, or, well, you have to unlearn some things. Yeah. And that's what habits are. Habits are just things that you've learned. Some bad, some good. You just replace those bad ones with good ones. And we have to learn to renew our minds. Well, our minds get renewed as we continue to walk in the Word, as we continue to listen to the right music, hanging out with the right people.
Yeah.
You become, what does it say? The scripture says, as a man thinketh in his heart, and the heart is the mind.
Yep.
That's what you are. What's in your heart? and out of your mouth speaks your heart. Your heart speaks. So it's so important. It's so important. I keep saying it. I have to keep saying it over and over again because it's so, so important.
Yes, it is.
Hello, ladies. Miss Sweetie Lee. I think I said that right. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone. Again, my guest tonight is Miss Heidy De La Cruz. And this is the Life Makeover Series, and I so appreciate her. And I wanted to go ahead and close out, and we'll close out for the night. And we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Stunner Radio. And to my friends, I pray that you will prosper in all things and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. Thank you. Good night. Good night, good day, whenever you're watching. Don't forget to catch the replay later. All right.